Hey Jackals, let's place it inside DaVinci Resolve. Place what? The plugin. It's called Placeit. Now let's get digital. I'll leave the link to the plugin down below. I'm not affiliated with Soundly, but I do like to use the plugin. So what does the Placeit plugin do? It takes a voice, so a speaker, and sets its source. In this case, they set it to TV, and you have a bunch of other options. Then you set the space or the location where the TV is placed. In this case, they set living room 1. When it comes to the wall, I think this sets how thick the wall is. So if you were listening to something behind the wall, how much you would actually hear this voice. But I'll show you that in an example. You also have some cheat sheets, a Soundly monitor, and you also have some spookly sounds. Now let's jump into DaVinci Resolve. You may need to go to DaVinci Resolve, Preferences, Audio Plugins. You should see it load successfully. And you may also need to add the paths where this was installed. And once that is done, click on Save. And you may also need to restore DaVinci Resolve if you don't see it when you go to the Effects and under the Audio Effects. And we have the VST Effects plugin. Then you can simply place it. This will show up. If you close it, you will simply go to the Inspector tab, Effects, and click on this button to open this again. And let me just disable it. And this is the AI voice that I'll be applying it to.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy and doesn't flex even though the case is made of plastic. You do have the option to choose an aluminium case.
So we can choose from a bunch of presets and even make our own.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy and doesn't flex even though the case is made of plastic. You do have the option to choose an aluminium case. The sound is hollow on the left side. Most likely the battery is on the right side as it is heavier on that side as well. There is some rubber padding on the bottom so the keyboard stays in place. You can choose between two size angle adjustments.
We can disable the speaker or the space and how the speaker is talking. So maybe a walkie-talkie.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? So what are my first impressions when I hold it? So what are my first impressions when I hold it? So what are my first impressions when I hold it? So what are my first impressions when I hold it?
So these are definitely cool options. You can also adjust the speaker amount by dragging the mouse up and down, or use this slider.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy and doesn't flex even though the case is made of plastic. You do have the option to choose an aluminium.
And here you will select the space. So you have also a bunch of options. Home, public places, vehicles, outdoors, hallways, school and workplace. So because I chose TV, this could be a public place or a home. So let's go maybe to the living room.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy and doesn't flex even though the case is made of plastic. You do have the option to choose an aluminium case.
Let's go with public places. This could be a TV in an airport, why not?
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy and doesn't flex even though the case is made of plastic. You do have the option to choose an aluminium.
So this is something that you could definitely use. Let's go back and we can also adjust the space mix.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy and doesn't flex even though the case is made of plastic.
And then you also have the wall. Let's see how that affects it.
So what are my first impressions when I hold it? The keyboard is sturdy. Aluminium case. The sound is hollow on the left side. Most likely the battery is on the right side as it is heavier on that side.
So this is definitely cool, as you can make it here so that the sound comes from behind the wall. And the thicker the wall, the more the sound gets absorbed. Now I'm not affiliated with Soundly, but I do find the plugin awesome. What about the price? It is actually free. You can also pay if you want. The only downside for me is that it is only available for Mac and Windows, and I'm making a switch to Linux. But hopefully I'll also be able to use the Placeit plugin in Linux.